In today's video, I'm going to continue taking a look at tech stocks, starting with the weekly time frame chart. This is where we have nice signals that give us overall longer bullish bias, and we're going to use that bias to then drill down to smaller time frame charts, in today's case, all the way down to a 1 minute time frame. Now inside of CrowdStrike, the reason why this first gets our attention is the weekly time frame chart has a nice squeeze that's currently forming. You can see that right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars in. Out of those 7 bars, we have 2 bullish signals now. Both of these signals tell us that we expect CrowdStrike to really start to get going in terms of breaking outside of its previous highs and continuing to trend up higher. So that's where our bias comes in from the weekly time frame. If you take a look at the last time we had similar signals, this was the slingshot squeeze. That squeeze ended up firing long. You can see that down here, which also led to a pretty nice rally inside of CrowdStrike. Once that squeeze fired and we started to lose momentum, we've been chopping around sideways and now building up yet another squeeze. Now, unlike Amazon, we don't have enough data here in terms of historical data to try and pull out any relevant stats. So that's where I think being a bit more nimble, focusing in on intraday time frame charts really helps you to manage your risk a little bit better compared to trying to simply play these moves. So now what we've established with this first portion is off of our weekly time frame, we have a bullish bias, right? We can see that right here with the squeeze. We also know we have earnings coming up, so let's keep drilling down in. I'll switch over next to a daily time frame chart. Now, off of our daily time frame, if I zoom out, the first thing that should stand out, we have stacked moving averages. The 8 is above the 21 is above the 34 is above the simple 50 moving average, along with the 50 simple being above the 200 simple. So across the board here, bullish structure. So that's step one, again, continues to add more to your bullish bias. Now, if I zoom in just a little bit more, the other thing that you can see is we also have a daily squeeze that's starting to form. Just 2 dots in as of right now, but with that squeeze, we've pulled back inside of our moving averages, and so far it looks like we're starting to head back out away from it. Our previous high is at 297.40. We're pretty dang close to that, so it would not be a surprise to see the squeeze take us into new all-time highs. Now, using this information, one other indicator that we can add in before we drill down to a 1 minute time frame is our pre-earnings indicator. Now, this is a free indicator that's available for all Volatility Box members. The URL is, let me actually expand this, tosindicators.com/indicator/pre-earnings. You can click download, and that will then bring up our pre-earnings tool. Whoops. So if I load this in, earnings is I think right around that December time period. So I'll give this an arbitrary amount, something like 30 days to understand what tends to happen. Now inside of CrowdStrike, 30 days headed into earnings, 5 out of the 9 times that we've had total earnings, 5 times price has risen in. 4 out of those 9 times, price has not risen, but rather fallen. So this is more or less a 50-50 breakdown, if anything, 55%, 44.4%. So there's no definitive trend here. However, if we move on next to our IV analysis, the thing that stands out is 8 out of those 9 times, implied volatility rose into earnings. So here, trying to be long vega or implied volatility would be a decent way to try and play this pre-earnings move, also taking advantage of the fact that we have a weekly squeeze and a daily squeeze, both of which are really near their all-time highs. Now let's get into how we can play this on a more nimble intraday time frame chart. And that's where we can use our 1 minute time frame chart along with our stock volatility box zones. Now, for all Volatility Box members, you can download the Volatility Box for CrowdStrike inside of the indicator page. You can put more symbols if you'd like, but for right now, we're just using CRWD as our ticker. If you wanted to add more, just comma separate. So for example, you do something like that, but I can remove this for the time being, click Generate, and then click the aggressive button to download the aggressive volatility box. Now, if I come into Thinkorswim, you'll see I already have both our aggressive along with our conservative volatility box loaded in. We're going to be using just the aggressive, so I can remove the conservative here, click remove. Perfect. Okay, so now let's zoom in a little bit more. With CrowdStrike, we had price action open today, then we rallied, headed right into that 7 a.m. mark, and that's when really across the board, most of our markets started to then sell off a little bit. With the sell-off inside of CrowdStrike, we fell right into the aggressive volatility box, and this is that first zone in which we're interested in potentially getting long. Now, keep in mind, we come into this intraday time frame with both a weekly and a daily time frame bullish bias, And our daily time frame is also telling us any way to try and be long vega is what you'd like to focus in on. Weekly is telling you any way to try and get long the actual underlying through deltas, through the actual stock, whatever it is, that's something we like. So in both cases, long is the trade that we're looking at, and if you're using options, being long vega is something else we're looking at. Now, with price action falling inside of our aggressive volatility box, this is step one, when it breaches our clouds. Now, after that, we see the edge signal form right here. That's this green arrow, and that tells you that, hey, we're officially now in oversold territory that's confirmed by this signal. Now, once you have both of those pieces, that's where the entry for this trade really starts to set up a nice reversal. You have both price actions selling off into key volatility zones. You have confirmation that we're officially in oversold territory. And I come back to, again, longer time frame biases, which give you a little bit more flexibility in that you may not necessarily be so rigid with having a hard to find stop right outside this low, but you might be willing to give it more room and buy all the way down to even our conservative volatility box had price action continued to keep falling down to that 279-ish mark. Right? So those are ways or advantages of having this longer time frame bias. Now, from the period in which we had that edge signal, if we take a look, you did get an entry at the clouds, but from there, price action inside of CrowdStrike just continued rallying all the way up to really pretty much where its highs were from this morning. In total, that was a rally of right around 3.76%, about $10.65 or so using the underlying. Depending on if you ended up trading with options, that was quite a bit more. And it rallied so much so that we're now right back into our upper volatility box zones, almost to the point where we'd be looking at this on our nightly trending list for a bullish setup. So that's really bringing everything together. We started with the weekly time frame chart, had the bias there, the bullish bias, drilled down to a daily time frame chart, had bullish bias there as well, and then drilled all the way down to a 1-minute time frame chart where we used our volatility box zones for exact entry points, along with the edge signal confirmation for really giving you that green light that, hey, we're now looking to try and participate in this long move inside of CrowdStrike. So hopefully today's video helps break down again one more example of using this process from starting with the weekly time frame, letting that dictate your bias, drilling down to a smaller time frame chart and keep going down and down until whatever time frame you like to trade, and then taking advantage of intraday volatility, knowing you have this longer term bias. I hope you found this video to be useful for anyone looking to trade CrowdStrike, along with anyone interested in CrowdStrike pre-earnings or the squeeze forming or even intraday volatility moves, trying to take advantage of day trading setups as well. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and we'll see you in the next update.